Hi, I'm Claude Curran. I'm a doctor and I'm running for Congress in Massachusetts' 9th Congressional District. Please watch my other videos to learn what my candidacy is all about. I want to tell you about a lot of ways we can save money, how we can decrease our enormous tax burden. We spend a lot of money on problems that easily lay within our control to reduce or stop. But again, there are powerful economic interests who really do not want us to change what we're doing. Let me give you a few examples. The drug problem in Massachusetts is out of control. The amount of drug money, narco dollars, leaving not only this state, but the entire country is staggering. Just to give you an idea of how big the drug problem is, in the last 10 years, there have been well over 8,000 drug overdose deaths in Massachusetts. And this does not necessarily include the number of suicide deaths of those desperate from their inability to quit their addiction. A lot of families suffer because of addiction. But what if there was a successful treatment? Not a cure. There's no real cure yet, unfortunately. But what if there was a treatment and the government kept it away from people who needed it? That would be hard to believe, wouldn't it? Well, let me tell you about Suboxone, buprenorphine. This is a picture of Suboxone, buprenorphine 8 milligram tablets. Now there's a film that they say is less abusable. But nevertheless, an 8 milligram tablet of Suboxone can keep a heroin addict off heroin for one day, for $8. Pretty good bargain, I'd say. I want to show you something else. This was a study published by the National Institute of Drug Abuse back in 1992. It was a symposium. This is monograph 121. If you get on www.nida, the National Institute of Drug Abuse, and go through their archives and look for monograph 121 called Buprenorphine, an Alternative Treatment for Opioid Dependence. As early as 1968, it was well known that buprenorphine could take the place of methadone, could treat heroin addicts, could successfully treat opiate addiction, it can treat obsessive compulsive disorder, other anxiety disorders, and it was safer than methadone. But powerful interests have kept buprenorphine out of the hands of doctors since 1968. Again, only in 2002 were doctors finally allowed to prescribe this. Again, back in the 1960s, our scientists knew that this medication could treat heroin addiction, yet it was kept out of the hands of addicts. Why? That's a great mystery. Imagine, buprenorphine or Suboxone could, if distributed effectively, wipe out 80% of the worldwide demand for heroin. If you consider that over 90% of the world's supply of heroin still comes from Afghanistan, and that drug money is probably helping to finance the rocket-propelled grenades and roadside bombs used to maim and kill our soldiers, then the restriction on access to Suboxone is indefensible. Let me give you a visual of our troops over in Afghanistan. Our brave troops and our heroes lying on the ground there. Here are pictures of our troops guarding and patrolling poppy fields. Now, I don't get the politics of all this, but something is definitely wrong here. When doctors were finally allowed to prescribe this in 2002, we were initially allowed only to treat 30 patients each. That was crazy. I organized a protest of this policy in 2004, and I made a lot of enemies. And 5 months later, Senator Ted Kennedy had the number of patients we were allowed to treat raised to 100. Meanwhile, I had over 800 heroin addicts in the Fall River, New Bedford area who needed this drug in order to stay away from heroin. Of course, I had to be investigated, and I was. Heroin addiction is the only condition in the entire spectrum of human illness that the United States government rations the treatment of. You know the legal definition of treason? It is to give aid and comfort to the enemy. Well, do you think the FDA, who restricts access to Suboxone by limiting the number of patients doctors like me can treat, is guilty of treason? I do. It's frightening to me that you've never heard a word about this situation from the president or from the major presidential candidates. Why? Big money. So please, tell your friends about this video and about my candidacy. And please vote for me, Claude Curran, in November. And I invite all of you families in Massachusetts who are struggling with a family member addicted or have lost someone to addiction, you can come with me and help me. I can't fight this by myself. There are very powerful interests that want this situation to continue the way it is. But for me, it's heartbreaking when I have to actually count the number of addicted patients I can help. I have to keep some type of demonic Schindler's List so that the United States government can keep the heroin dealers and the methadone industry in business. Meanwhile, the heroin addicts across the country are financing our mortal enemies in Afghanistan. Go figure. When we see those heartbreaking pictures from the Walter Reed Army Hospital and Dover Air Force Base, I'm Claude Curran, independent candidate for U.S. Congress in Massachusetts' 9th Congressional District. Please stop by my campaign headquarters, located at 198 Hanover Street in Fall River, 02720, to sign my nomination papers. Thank you.